Hi guys, welcome back to N Adders Reptile Advice. Today we're going to look at some specimen checks for people who are buying snakes. Show season is upon us. If I'd have thought about this soon enough, I'd have done this last week, as Tinley Park in Illinois has just happened for our American viewers. So I'm sorry it's come a bit too late, but you know, it's pertinent. Show season's just about to start, and people will buy stuff, not check it properly, not do the correct specimen checks, and then wonder why they inherit problems. And in the weeks after a show, people seem to supplement the word Snakes and Adders Reptile Specialist with the People's Dispensary for Sick Animals, which we are not. We are a business, running a business full of our own animals and very fastidiously taking care of the animals of our customers. Also, it is worth mentioning, yes, you may get a better price, but you get no backup service and you get nothing else. Snakes and Adders has been trading since the year 2000. Our reputation is hard worked for, hard fought for, and we like to think well deserved. You will pay a premium, but you're paying for a service and a backup. We're not going anywhere, so it's not in our interest to sell you a shit snake or a shit lizard. It just isn't. So what we're going to take you through is some basic checks to try and curtail the workload that show season seems to develop for us and causes us somewhat of a bugbear. So take for example this false water cobra. I'm thinking about purchasing this snake. What are the things that I would need to check? So first of all, overall body weight and condition. Am I happy with the amount of body weight that the animal has? Can I see its spine or its rib cage? Does it feel like there's muscle tone in the scales? So it passes that test, it seems perfectly happy. Next thing, I want to take a look at its face. I want to check its face, and I want to check its eyes particularly. Are they clear? Are they bright? Is there any looseness or puffiness around this socket, around the eye, that could indicate mites? Let me just have a quick look. No, perfectly clear. Whilst we're there, we're going to have a look at these nostrils. Make sure that they're clear. We don't want any bubbles or any mucus beginning to form. We don't want any bubbles following the tongue out of the rostral notch. Another place that mites like to hide are these elongated scales underneath the chin. They're called chin shields. And in between the chin shields, there's a big flap of interstitial skin. And it's the perfect place for mites to hide. So it's always worth having a look or giving this area a rub to see if anything comes loose when we're investigating. If we want to check really well that there's no signs of respiratory illness, we're just going to purse the gum. I want to see inside the gum line. I want to make sure that there's no excess mucus or problems. It doesn't need to be long, it doesn't need to take too long, and if you're firm but relatively expedient about the way you do it, there's no reason for you to stress this animal out. And bear in mind, this is a rear-fanged snake. Alright, she's absolutely gloriously tame, but even so, I don't want to stress her out any more than I have to, and I just want to check and make sure that she's okay. The next thing we want to do is we want to just trace the spine. We're going to follow the spine all the way down the body. What I'm checking for are any deviations, any lumps, any bumps, any kinks. This could be as a result of being trapped, erroneous incubation temperatures or gestation temperatures if it was a boa constrictor, so we need to make sure that we've got a nice straight spine. Also, we want to make sure that the tail is nice and straight and that there's no kinks. Again, people regularly trap tails and it causes problems. So no, we seem to be perfectly happy that that's a nice straight tail. What we also need to check is the vent. The vent is an enlarged scale that's usually double the height of the normal ventral scales. And in a lot of snakes, post-anally, the scales are split, and these are called subcaudal scales. So we're going to check the vent. What we're looking for is any discoloration, any swelling, any angriness. No, this one's perfectly dry. The scale meets lovely and flat. It's not pursed in any way or angry. The ventral scales can be a good indicator in case there's any fungal problems or issues going on. And these scales might look inflamed, red or angry, or they might purse slightly at the ends, which gives it a rough complexion. But no, this one's perfectly flat as well. Whilst we're doing all this stroking and all this checking, we're going to be checking our palms as well to make sure that we're not getting any mites coming off while we're stroking them and that we're okay. What we need to make sure is that our animal, as far as we can tell, because we're not veterinarians, that we're just making sure that all of these visual checks, the animal meets these criteria. We're listening carefully for any clicking or hissing or bubbling that we might hear from the breathing as the animal comes. You'll be able to hear it breathe, but we don't want it to sound wet, and we don't want it to sound like when you've got a bad chest and you get that bubbling sensation when you breathe. We don't want any of those bubbles or clicks or anything like that as we listen to it breathe. Overall, this animal passes all the checks, but other things that you might want to check, particularly with animals prone to pushing or that have got specialised rostral scales. So Pituophis, the pine bull and gopher snakes, have a specialised rostral scale. They are pushers. They don't like to sit still, so they'll push at the glass. And this can actually chap or irritate the scale, make it crack. So that could be quite sore. Now, that's not the end of the world. You might be able to just dab a bit of Tamidine on this to get it to heal up. 2 or 3 sheds later, it should hopefully be okay. And maybe consider putting a visual barrier between them and the glass bottom, which is where they will usually push. Another animal that's absolutely renowned for pushing and causing themselves problems is reticulated pythons. But no shit, Sherlock, if you put a killer python in a plastic container, it's going to try and push its way out. Expecting it to sit still isn't going to work. So there is a hell of a lot of retics with rostral damage and inflammation and abscesses, which are subcutaneous, so under the skin. This can block up nostrils. If the nostrils are blocked up, the animal's throat might blow out, kind of like a frog, and this is where secondary respiratory infections can also come from. So for retic people that are insisting on still buying their retics, make sure that you check their nose, make sure it's not puffy or inflamed in any way, doesn't look angry, and it seems to follow its natural shape. If there's any puffiness to the lips or anything like that, I would avoid, as this could cause you secondary problems. Just be careful when you're picking stuff. There isn't a rush. You come in here, you want to buy a snake. We expect you to check the snake. I mean, as we've already said, we're not going anywhere, so any problems that did slip through the net, we'd resolve. But when you're buying off some unknown random at a show and you've got no way of following it up, it's people like me and the other specialist centres around the country that are going to inherit this headache, trying to sort the problems out. And our job would be made so much easier if you opened your eyes and actually did the checks yourself first. We want to make sure that we're absolutely comfy with the purchase, that everything is to our liking. Get past how pretty it is. You're buying them off. Yes, you want it to be pretty. Yes, aesthetic value plays a certain part, but there are important checks that must take place to make sure an animal is healthy first, and they take precedence over everything else. So your checks are all important. So from me and Paul at Snakes and Adders, be careful, be thorough, make sure you check your animals. We'll see you all again soon. Peace.